Dragon's body lay by the trunk of the apple tree, its tail still twitching, but the rest of its coiled body barren of life. Flies died in the poison of its festering wounds, while nearby the Hesperides bewailed the dragon's death. They covered their golden heads with their white arms, and Hera placed the image of the dragon in the sky as the constellation Draco. Hi everybody, and welcome back to Stellar Saturday with your young adult librarian Lexi, me, yay! So today we're going to be going over a constellation. It's a rather big one. Its name is Draco. Some of you may be familiar with the name, but basically it just means dragon. So we're going to go over the structure of it, the astronomy structure of it, and then we'll get into the mythology of it. This constellation will probably be more heavy on the astronomy side, just because when I was looking up the mythos, there were a lot of different mythos out there about Draco, and it wasn't like a heavy chunk, like it wasn't like a big mythos on Draco, surprisingly. So like, even though it was mentioned, it was like brief synopsises of everything that went down. So we'll go ahead and get started. I really like this constellation because it's kind of cool. Let's see. Alright, so here's our little constellation, friends. I was actually able to find like a picture of the sky Draco, so we can kind of see what that looks like. I know a lot of times I'm usually just posting this image here, and a lot of people, sometimes including myself, I'm like, what am I looking at? But basically this image here is the basically like, I guess, astronomically correct version of the constellation and how the night sky is viewed. Whereas this, you can actually see an example of like where to find it or how to connect all those little dots. It is the 8th largest constellation in the sky. We're going to start off with some facts, and then I'm going to get into the 3 big kind of features of Draco. It's the 8th largest constellation in the sky. It's located in the northern hemisphere, so sometimes we can see it, sometimes we can't. It's also part of the Ursa Major family of constellations. So if you guys watched my video from last week, we actually covered the constellation from Ursa Major. So that's kind of a good springboard if you really want to kind of get into all of this. Now, it was actually by pure coincidence that I chose another constellation within that family, mainly because I was going based off of things that I already had like semi of a knowledge of. And then, so the fact that this was actually news to me that Draco and Ursa Major were part of the same family of constellations. But if you want to know a little bit more about that, I think I went into a little bit more detail of the families and the neighboring constellations of them in the Ursa Major video. So it has 9 stars with known planets, and it has 1 meteor shower associated with it that takes place around February 4th. This meteor shower is basically called Draconids. And then let's go ahead and get started into the actual features of this beautiful constellation. So this is a Cat's Eye Nebula. It is one of the most complex nebula ever discovered. It was formed, they think, to be about 1,000 years ago when a bright, hot star lost its outer envelope in a red giant phase. So basically, it just means instead of exploding in a capsule, it exploded like everywhere, as you can kind of see in the image. And it's about 10,000 times more luminous than the sun. And I believe it's actually, it's believed to be smaller than our sun as well right now, or approximately the same size. So it's kind of interesting to see that a star like this, it's smaller, if not the same size, but it's 10,000 times brighter than our sun. So as a result of stellar wind, yes, there are apparently winds in space. It is losing about 20 trillion tons of mass per second, and is currently believed to be only slightly more massive than the sun. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger. So it's around the same size, if not a little bit bigger. But I mean, I guess that changes by the second. Quite literally. The nebula was discovered by William Herschel on February. The nebula was discovered by William Herschel in February of 1786. Alright, and the next feature we're going to go over is called a spindle galaxy. The galaxy, of course, its most notable feature is the shape of it. But it is most notable for its extended disk of dust, seen exactly edge on. The disk, which might contain a ring-like structure, is an unusual feature for a lenticular galaxy. The galaxy might also be a spiral galaxy, in which case the dust disk would not be unusual. So basically, they don't know if it's a disk or a spiral galaxy because of the view that it's at. So basically, this thing could be a spiral galaxy, right? Just kind of on its edge, but the only view we're getting from it is from the side because that's all we're capable of right now. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see, like, as much as we know about these constellations and these features, there's so much. For every one little thing that we know, there's so much less that we don't know. The only way you get through that is by advancing. So anyways, this spiral, or I guess spindle galaxy, since they don't know if it's a spiral or a disk galaxy, that's really the only notable thing about it, is the fact that we don't know. And then the last feature we're going to go over is called the tadpole galaxy. This one we have a little bit more information about, thankfully. This tadpole galaxy is called a disturbed buried spiral galaxy. So basically what that means is it has been collided with another galaxy. And I love this description about the photo, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. Seen shining through the tadpole's disk, the tiny intruder is likely a hit-and-run galaxy that is now leaving the scene of the accident. Strong gravitational forces from the interaction created the long tail of debris, consisting of stars and gas that stretch out for more than 280,000 light years. The galactical carnage of the torrent of the starbirth are playing out against the spectacular backdrop. A wall pattern of 6,000 galaxies. So I find that interesting because they basically they equated this to hit and run. So this galaxy, of course, it's notable for its structure as well as the fact it is a collided galaxy. It's this tail that you see down here is about 280,000 light years long, which was what they were talking about in the quote. It contains a number of clusters of massive bright blue stars. And of course, since it is the disturbed shape of the galaxy is believed to be the result of the gravitational interaction with a smaller, more compact galaxy. Which basically what they're saying is when these two galaxies collided, the more compact galaxy kept moving, and when it kept moving, that's what drew out all the stars and the dust and the gas and all of that coming from the galaxy up here and created that tail-like effect. And it is expected to be about 300,000 light years behind the Tadpole galaxy. That can be seen in the picture. Okay, so yeah. So you know how I was talking about it could be either this lower star or the star up here? That just clarified it. It's the star that's up here and right behind the galaxy. Don't know if you can see it. It's a white little star, but it's leaving the scene of the crime. Alright, and so that was all I had for the notable features for Draco. And now we're going to go ahead to the mythos of Draco. So the origin of the constellation Draco, and it's basically most of dragon lore as well, was probably, a lot of people assume a lot of it kind of comes from the female Chandelian dragon Tiamat. Basically a sea serpent who existed even before the sea and sky and had been divided from each other. Basically a dragon of chaos. This is one of kind of the oldest known lore about Draco, and the other ones that we know of, there's two main ones, of course, from Greek and Roman mythology, and then there's also one of Arabic. So with the Greek mythology, Draco was a part of the 12 labors of Hercules. In Roman mythology, it was known to be one of the giant titans who warred with the Olympian gods for 10 years. In Arabic, ironically enough, it has nothing to do with the dragon, and it's actually part of a much, much larger scene. It does not depict a dragon. Instead, it is two hyenas seen attacking a baby camel, which is protected by four female camels, and the nomads who own the camels are camped by nearby. A lot of different versions. So basically, it was just kind of like a generic cautionary tale type of thing. I was reading it, and so the one that I'm going to kind of give you a different situations going on. But this is the one we're going to go with. This is one of the 12. Letting you know, though, if you guys want to research. When I was reading up about this, it got kind of confusing about it, muddled. You absolutely can, but there were a lot of contradictory information, as well as a bunch of other additional information regarding like the names and things like that and why certain names are different. So here we go. Gaia gave Hera a golden apple tree when she was married to Zeus. Hera put the tree in the garden to be guarded by the Hesperides and the dragon called Ladon. So basically, the Hesperides had a history of basically going to the tree and eating all the apples. And Hera didn't really like that, so she's like, I'm gonna put this dragon here to stop y'all. Hercules was part of his 12 labors that he was asked to do. He asked Atlantis to gather up the apples while he and Athena held up the sky. So basically, instead of Hercules going and basically vanquishing the dragon and grabbing the apples, he basically asked somebody stronger than him to do it while he took over his work temporarily. But Atlas actually wanted to stop holding up the sky, and he was hoping to trick Hercules into holding the sky forever. That didn't work so much, because after he accepted the mission and he returned with the apples, Hercules actually slipped the sky back onto Atlas's shoulders, and he was still stuck holding up the night sky. But he got that sweet taste of freedom, if not for a little bit. So that was basically the whole mythology behind the 12 labors. Now, the quote that I used earlier in today's episode was actually a quote in which Hercules faced off the dragon himself, and he used a specific type of poison, and I believe it was a poison dart that killed the dragon. And at the time, Hera had actually been the one to place Draco. In that version of the mythology, Hera was actually the one to place Draco in the garden to protect it from the Hesperides. And so when he killed it, that's when Hera decided to place it into the sky. But that's pretty much all the mythos I have for you guys today. And hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm sorry it wasn't super extensive like our prior videos, but this constellation was a little bit weird. Even though it is one of kind of the oldest mythologies, there were some other versions of it as well. But like I said, a lot of the mythologies on Draco was very much, it was very short, sweet, and to the point type of situation, and it varied extensively. Like, even with the Greek mythology, like, there's two contradictory stories about a same situation. So it's just, it's one of those things you really have to kind of dig into yourself and kind of figure out which one you really want to tell. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you guys again next week. Bye-bye!